Have you ever wanted to become a better leader? In today's session, we're going to discuss the heart of leadership, unveiling the power of purpose-driven strategies with Elona Lopari. She's the founder and CEO of the Life School. She's a keynote speaker, trainer, facilitator, and expert panelist. She is an award-winning entrepreneur and speaking and events organizer to an audience of over 30,000 purpose-driven, service-based entrepreneurs and corporations. Now, the first question is, what is the secret to your success, and what does leadership have to do with it? Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu, mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services.
Hey, Lily, thanks so much for having me. So the secret to my success is being connected to my purpose, be connected to the reason why I do the work I do, and how my path or my journey led me to the work that I'm doing today. And I'm sure whatever I'm going to experience will continue to evolve me as a human being, but also the impact that I get to make towards other people. So that would be the first one. What was your second question? What is heart-driven leadership?
How does leadership help you become successful?
So leadership is something I discovered accidentally. It's not something that obviously, you can utilize in your everyday. I work for a corporation, building the American dream, Fortune 500 corporation, climbed all the way to the C-suite level, really understanding that I had a passion and I was good with people. So to me, that's kind of what leadership is, understanding how to support other people, how to shine their lights, how to be ensuring that they're part of something bigger, they align with the values, the vision, the mission of a certain company. So that's where I discovered leadership and the knack that I had for that. And then eventually through my journey as an entrepreneur, I've also gone to do the same thing. I'll unite people around me that have similar set of values, vision, mission, and energy to be able to drive the work forward that I do and also create the impact and, of course, build a successful company that aligns profits, as I know that's a big challenge for most entrepreneurs.
Thank you. So tell us some steps entrepreneurs can take to become better leaders.
Well, it always begins with us, right? Self-leadership. That's where everything begins, because obviously the more you have clarity on who you are as a person and what are the values that drive you and what is the vision that drives you and the mission that drives you, then you can actually articulate that with other people. So it's really self-leadership. That's where everything begins, understanding what you're about, why you're here, why is this important to you, and then figuring out now how to align the right people around you that have a common set of values, vision, mission, so that everybody can collaborate towards something similar. When I talk about self-leadership, I always talk about clarity and talk about where is it that you have your strengths and where is it that you have your opportunities. Or how can you align people with people that have complementary skills and experience that you might not have. So that's kind of where I would begin everything with leadership. It's in the self-leadership and the self-work of knowing yourself, because that would trickle down into everything else that you're doing.
Thank you. How can entrepreneurs find leaders within the organization to help them build their dreams?
Well, people are everywhere. So if you create the right structures and a good culture, a good healthy culture inside of our organization, whether we are a person of one, we all begin there. I begin my entrepreneurship journey as a party of one, and then eventually grow from there. So when we create a healthy, supportive culture, then we could spot people that rise up to the occasion, or they light up inside the different circumstances of the roles that they're assigned. So that's kind of, one way to look for the talent. I call them building top talent. The talent that's already sitting inside the organization, just by creating the right structures and having the right conversations. Because the other part that's really missing in a lot of companies is the structure that's missing because of the fast day-to-day operational activities that companies go through, to have really good, deep conversations with their team members. And these conversations shouldn't just be their professional lives, but also their personal lives, their goals, what's important to them, and how is it that the work they're doing contributes towards something bigger than just the organization.
Thank you. How do you separate or differentiate purpose-driven leadership from what's already happening in the world? Because I think every company has the objective of improving the world in some shape or form. So what's the difference there?
Yeah, I think it's in the decision making, right? If the leaders are really using their heart to make decisions or their head, and yes, both are very important. I'm not throwing out the head part, because we do need to make a lot of, strategic decisions, executive decisions in our journey as entrepreneurs or as CEOs when we grow a company. However, a purpose-driven leader is really connected to their purpose. And when they make decisions, because their values are so clear and their vision is so clear and their purpose is so clear, or mission is so clear, they usually will, every decision they make, they will try to challenge it against those three things that are important to them. And even if a decision is going to make them more money, but it's going to go against their values or those things that I talked about, they're not going to make that decision. So being purposeful means it's not just a word, it's just a way of being. And they're usually driven by human values, right? Of human values: integrity, trust, honesty, intuition, creativity, authenticity, growth, contribution. So if those human values are in alignment with the way that they make decisions, then obviously the company they've built will just be a byproduct of them always, being in alignment with the way they're making decisions and their values and who they are as a human being.
Thank you. Tell us more about your work. So, for example, let's say that a company was to hire you to create or to help define purpose-driven leadership in their company. How would your work kind of help them get there? Or how would your work kind of help them to create a more impactful leadership in their organization that makes a bigger difference versus what they're already doing?
Well, usually when I come in, it's usually for the two main pain points, which is the cash flow, inconsistent cash flow, or scalability. The company has reached a certain level. They've built a certain operational structure. However, now they don't know how to scale beyond that, whether we need to take a look at their business model or whether it's in their current markets, they need to tap into new marketing channels, or they need to go into new markets. That's usually, the reason why companies connect with me. So I usually always start with identifying the gaps, right? Because again, we have to understand where they are and then where is it that the vision is going, so that I can have a clear idea over what are some of the gaps that I also intuitively see and professionally see based on my experience. That might be the things that we can do in-house, because usually it's a human tendency to always go outside to figure out the next problem that we need to solve. But I found that there's tons of opportunity within the operations and within what the company's already built. So I like to do a mirror type of work, or harmonizing where is it that we can streamline processes inside the company, so that then we can be strategic and intuitive in the way that we make decisions on the outside. When it comes to aligning purpose, is really around asking those deep questions. Why is it that we're doing this? How is this connected to the bigger mission? How is this connected to the bigger vision? And sometimes these questions are uncomfortable for the CEOs because they usually tap into feelings. And that's not something sometimes we want to deal with, because we're busy and we don't want to deal with some of those inner gaps that we might be experiencing. But I like to go deep with some of those questions, because from personal stuff, it's really how that shows up or projects into the professional side of things as far as scaling a company. So when I go in and do some of this work, is really asking those deep questions and getting the value and the vision mission alignment going, so that then we can figure out what is it that we're doing in-house, what opportunities is there to work on in-house to create results, productivity, efficiency, profit, and all of that, and then go on the outside for a more strategic plan as we're building the company, or as we're expanding the company or scaling it.
Thank you. So why does purpose-driven leadership work better in terms of aligning everyone's goals together?
Well, first of all, it's a involuntary change. The world has changed. The talent that surrounds us is not the same. Our clients are not looking for the same things that maybe business was used to years ago, with the way that it built a company and traditionally did things. We now have better information. We understand there's other ways to do things. We understand how to align the doing with the being. We understand there's smarter ways and more intentional ways that we can work our brains, we can work our operations, we can work the decisions that we make. So it's really flipping the script sometimes, it feels like, from, not just focusing on the profit side, but also focusing on some of the internal culture things that we can do. Because when you do the first, the second usually becomes a byproduct, and the company can survive and thrive beyond its owner. Because one of the missions that I have is to ensure that the company is self-led and independent, so that if the owner would like to leave it as a legacy or use it as a philanthropy channel, or they want to exit from it, they can actually do that, because now they build a very independent asset that's very healthy. So I would say those main factors have changed. The way that we look at work has changed. The way we work has changed. The way we attract talents has changed. People looking for something more. They're looking to contribute and to grow. So the fact that if we operate under the same, framework, we're just not going to be able to attract the right success that we're looking for. And our company is not going to be able to sustain sort of where we're heading energetically, society, and all of that globally with everything that's happening.
Thank you. How does purpose-driven leadership impact the bottom line, employee retention, employee motivation, and customer loyalty?
Yeah, it impacts everything. So every purpose-driven measure has a profit-driven measure. So when it comes to sales, and you are a service-oriented company, and through your service, you create a major transformation for people, that impacts your sales bottom line right away. When it comes to having happy people inside of you, when they are growing and contributing, that affects your retention percent. When it comes to growing a brand outside of your company and tapping into new markets, everything is about trust, authenticity, and the way that you are different from what's out there. So that really helps all your metrics, I would say, because building a brand is usually an ongoing activity with every business, but it can, translate into the sales aspect for sure, because the more people know you, obviously, the more sales that you'll be able to experience. It affects the way that you generate your cost savings. Right? Because at the end of the day, once you understand how to streamline your processes on the inside, you can focus and invest your money into better channels that are going to give you a higher ROI for your time and energy. So yes, those are some things that come to mind, but it's absolutely directly correlated to every P&L measure that you might be interested in.
Thank you. How can leaders embed purpose into the company culture so that it's not just a slogan, but it's a living, breathing part of daily operations?
It's embodying it, not even talking about it, just being, leading by example. Just like anything, the leaders are usually the ones that should go first. So if there's something we want to implement, or a certain thing that we believe in our culture, then you go first. You show people what that looks like. So I found that to be the highest, most effective form of any type of instilling vision, mission onto others, or positively trying to influence other people. It's always lead by example, because then you're really embodying that. It's not just something that's just in your break room or somewhere wherever your team is hanging out. And start with that. Remind people and inject that in your meetings, right? Just lead with purpose. Why are we here? Why is this important? And remind people of that, because it could be your memorandum, the thing that people really believe in. And again, just like anything, the more we see something, we surround ourselves with something, it starts to become a habit. And then, it eventually becomes the way that we are. So those are the two main things that I've seen are the most effective. Of course, you could do so many other things, but those two are really powerful.
Thank you. What are some key behaviors or practices that purpose-driven leaders must embody to influence and inspire their teams?
Lead with care and compassion. right? Really be interested in your people's personal development as much as their professional development. This is one thing I've seen in my experience in the HR space with the Fortune 500 company I work for, that 80% of the results, or I guess the challenges in productivity that the employees had, were connected to their personal lives. So be caring, lead with care and compassion. Have the bigger picture in mind. Sometimes, when we are dealing with, fires, or not every day obviously is perfect and rainbows and daisies. When you have a decision to make, understand emotional management is very important, right? Don't make important decisions when you are not you're emotionally triggered. So understand how to lead with good, care on your emotions. I think it's important. But also, most importantly, always be learning and growing, and work on your awareness. I have found that to be the highest tool that we have as humans, not just as leaders, because once your awareness rises, then you can use that everywhere. Because then you could connect with people on all the different senses, and you're able to innovate and really anticipate is the right word. Anticipate what is happening, anticipate problems that are going to be really killed by you working on root causes. A lot of times we work on reactive problems that happen from us skipping or identifying, or are really not aware around where's the root cause of a specific problem. Because if we figure that out, then we don't have to worry about the rest of the pieces. So I would say those things would be important to look at.
Thank you. Please share with us 3 short stories that emphasize how purpose-driven leadership has had an impact in 3 companies you've worked with.
Well, one that comes to mind is the messaging. One of my diversity and inclusion clients that had a company that offers diversity and inclusion services to other businesses struggled with identifying the keywords to her purpose. And as soon as she talked about, transformation and how that actually showed up in her personal life, when we implemented that into her messaging and everything that she was doing with her marketing, it's almost like new people connected with her message, and she was able to get in a wave of clients and people that resonated with that. And that was important because that's a message that connected with her personally. So that's definitely something that's going to help her stand out in between everybody else. So I would say that is one story. The other one is really making one of my other clients that had a bookkeeping business was making really emotional decisions in her business because she had personal challenges in her marriage. And a lot of times, this is an example what I shared, that our personal stuff carries over to the business. And we held the space to ask her insightful questions to figure out what were some of those personal challenges and how those were actually driving the decisions she was making in the business, which was really hurting the business because she was making a big purchase for an emotional reason, which has nothing to do with the growth and the health of the business, but more to do with some of the voids that she was experiencing personally. So I love to always connect the two in the work that I do. And then the third one is just processes and systems. I see these over and over. One of the companies that I work for, in helping her streamline her business model, she had a recruiting firm and offering career services for individuals. So as soon as we streamlined her business model, she was able to skyrocket her revenue, double, triple her revenues, and also make sure that her business was simplified so that then she could figure out that, okay, I might need to implement this system or that system within the company without having to go and hire and do all these other things, which she thought should happen for her to grow a successful company beyond herself. So processes and systems are very important. I'm very operational also. And tweaking a few things in there will definitely increase a lot of the ROI as far as the profit and the numbers are concerned.
Thank you. In terms of small business owners that have only up to 10 employees, are there any measures they can do to implement purpose-driven leadership?
Yeah, I think it's just a way of being purposeful. So whether you have 10 or 20 or 20 million, yes, obviously it's going to be more challenging when you have a lot more people under your teams and your company. But then you can structure things out, right? That's what happens when that happens. But I would say, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing, whether you have 1 or 10. it's really you leading by those values as a person, and then everything else, in the way you're making decisions, have that kind of be the filter and the way that transfers over to everything else that you're doing. So I would say it would be the same.
Thank you. How does an entrepreneur balance business crises and purpose-driven leadership?
Balance is all in the way of being, right? So if you have ways to cope with the crazy, then the crazy would get better and you'll be able to manage it better. So it's directly correlated to that. And the crazier it is, the more you need purposeful tools and strategies and ways of being so that you can balance and harmonize both. So I would say it's just going to be your sanity. Otherwise, you're going to struggle with anxiety, burnout, all things that I've overcome in my journey. And if I don't watch it, I can fall into those categories of just hustling my way to problems, or feeling like I'm not working hard enough, or there's always something else happening in the market which I need to catch up with, right? These are always things that happen. But I think being purposeful and intentional and having really good tools around you to help you stay grounded in your purpose would make sure that you are not overreacting to problems, but you are dealing and problem solving with problems from the heart level, which is always the highest solution, I say, or the right consequence, and not from the brain and survival mode, which usually causes a lot of pain anyway. And then you have to go back and fix all the problems that you created from that state of being. So yeah, I would say it's very correlated, directly correlated.
How can entrepreneurs communicate effectively to enroll the team members into their vision?
Yeah, always start with what's in it for them, right? I mean, you always have to be very mindful around your audience, whether your audience is a team member, a client, or a deal, or social media. You have to understand where your audience is coming from and what are their desires, needs, and aspirations. So knowing, what's in it for them, go lead with that first. Have a clear message around the ROI, or I guess, what's in it for them, answering that question, and then connect the second piece, which is why are you there and what is it that you can do, and why is it important for you to connect that to, the bigger vision or the mission that you're after. But always start with meeting people where they are and catch their interest, because that's really what's top of mind for them. So knowing your audience is very important, and being in line with their needs and aspirations and challenges, of course. So then you can figure out how to offer new solutions and new insight around whatever messages that you feel compelled to deliver.
Thank you. What other steps can entrepreneurs take to ensure that their leadership motivates their team?
Motivation is, I don't believe in extrinsic motivation from the inside in, because that usually doesn't last. I think it's, again, creating a really good culture around your team, having your team's interests, best interests at mind, seeing how is it that they can grow and contribute beyond your company, have consistent communication or touch points that you set up. I like to call it touch points. It's easier for people to understand it. And then just have their best interests at heart when you're making decisions. And I think you'll definitely build a great culture of talent and a great reputation, which then will really serve you well in the way that you build your own company, but also how you are seen in the marketplace or whatever territories or markets that you operate in.
Thank you. What's the best way to create a purpose that the company feels attracted to?
It's connecting the dots between who are you serving, what does your team care about, and why is it that you are there, and what's your purpose as a company? I think it's connecting those three main important dots to one another, and then coming up with a compelling message that takes care of all three audiences, which are usually connected and need to be taken care of by the company. Let's call the company its own independent unit, because it really is at the end of the day. But yeah, I would say connect those three dots and you should be okay, because then you have the most important priorities in order, and you can, everybody resonates with that. So that will get everybody together around the same vision and mission.
Thank you. What are the top things CEOs make mistakes on that ensure their their leadership fails to kind of touch the hearts and minds of their employees?
Well, we all probably have heard this. They stay small, right? They have other bad experiences with trusting people, humans, and they stay small. They micromanage. They try to do everything themselves. So they lead from that space, which is never going to be, they're their own bottleneck. We have heard this many times. I think that's one. The other one is not to always continuously learn and grow on your own as a leader and self-discover yourself, because you might understand where you are best and where is your position in the company and where are you adding the most value really well. But there's also new information that comes up at all times when you are into self-discovery. So making your personal growth and development your priority, and that would always trickle down into the value that you're adding for others and your company as well. So I would say that's the second. And the third one is being short-sighted, making the decision based on to set a fire, to procrastinate for the wrong reason is what I say, or fear-based decisions. Usually those fear-based decisions don't align with the future or where the company's going, but also are going to cost the company a lot more pain, because every time we make a fear-based decision, it is made for the wrong reason. And when something's made for the wrong reason, it's going to have its consequences. So those would be the three top mistakes I've seen.
Thank you. Tell us about the role of empathy and emotional intelligence in successfully leading through challenging situations.
Well, it's everything, because even when we go through a challenging situation in our personal life, all we want is just a listening ear, someone on the other side listening to what is it that we're going through, resonating with what is it that we're going through, not judging us, right? Not making us feel ashamed. But just being there for support in whatever type of way that support looks like. Sometimes the support could just be in the face of just listening to somebody have a challenge, and then creatively coming up with potential solutions with people together, right? Because we all mirrors to each other anyway. So if we hold the right spaces, we can overcome challenges easier. And then looking for opportunities and ways to turn those challenges into opportunities. Usually I also have a podcast, and I've seen that I ask my guests around their purpose or why they do the work they do, and 80% of their answers is always around pain and challenges, right? So the challenges that we overcome are there for a higher purpose. So how is it that we can turn those challenges into opportunities and then let that maybe become the next building block towards our purpose or our journey? So just refocusing and reshifting the way that we think about things and the way that we operate.
Thank you. How do you ensure the pursuit of purpose doesn't detract from operational efficiency or financial performance?
Always, checking and balancing it to what is it that we're doing, right? Because we all going to evolve. Sometimes a message that resonated a year ago is no longer the same purpose that we feel compelled to go after, because we get more clarity, we get more experience, we get more, evolution as we grow. So keeping an open mind to this as well. There's no like one set purpose, and once we come up with it day one, that's the thing that we're going to do, because you're going to grow from all the factors around you and your circumstances. So keeping an open view, a curious mindset around purpose, because every day you're uncovering new things that are going to get that purpose clear, and then just testing it, checking and balancing it against all your major decisions or even small decisions that you make in your operations will definitely ensure that you're connected to that and you're aligned with it. It's not going to be perfect every day, but even if it's not, there's always opportunities for learning, and then we can get connected with it, the next time around. So just, don't be hard on yourself. Sometimes when we talk about purpose, it's pressuring or high expectation for people, because it's like, well, I don't know what it is, it must be something big. Just every day moving forward towards something that you care about or that really compels you is really the right steps to take anyway. So just stay open to the process.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential, so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.